Hello, model railroaders and rail fans. This is Sierra number 52 Rail Fan, and welcome back to my layout. This is Sierra Northern Railway Hill Job, G-Scale, Part 2. In Part 1, we followed the Sierra Northern Railway Hill Job on its eastbound journey from Oakdale to the Sierra Pacific Industries Lumber Mill in Standard, California. In Part 2, we will follow the hill job on its westbound journey from Standard back to Oakdale, California. And for our first shot, we capture a late afternoon westbound hill job after departing Standard, heading downgrade towards Sonora. Because this layout was modeled after the prototype Sierra Northern Railway, a short line running between Riverbank and Standard, California, there are several locations along the layout that are named after the actual locations on the prototype railroad. Here we catch an early morning hill job traveling across a wooden trestle over Dry Creek. This is an actual location on the prototype Sierra Northern Railway that is between Cooperstown and Warnerville, California. Because this is a G-scale layout and not the prototype railroad, there are also several locations along the layout that are fictional and of my own creation, as well as locations that were taken from other prototype railroads, not the Sierra Northern Railway. Here we capture a westbound hill job at night rounding Big 60 curve. While this is an actual location, it is not a location on the prototype Sierra Northern Railway. Rather, it's a location that's on the Portland and Western's Toledo branch in Oregon that I have added to my layout. In this shot, you'll notice that the hill job is being powered by 3 locomotives rather than 2. This is because on the G-scale layout, the Sierra Northern Railway has recently stationed a full-time switcher locomotive at the Sierra Pacific Industries Mill in Standard. This has created a situation where the Sierra Northern Railway is now hauling bigger trains on its hill job, requiring additional power to haul the trains up and down the steep grades. The reason why larger trains are now hauled on the hill job is because the hill job no longer travels all the way into the Sierra Pacific Industries lumber mill yard limits and conducts their own switching duties. Rather, the switcher locomotive is responsible for all switching duties within the mill. This allows the hill job with bigger trains to drop their trains just short of the mill yard limits. At this location, they actually pick up larger trains that have been put together and placed there by the switcher, where they can take larger trains down the hill. The larger train that was brought up the hill by the hill job is then taken into the mill, sometimes sections at a time, and placed into their appropriate loading and unloading locations by the switcher locomotive. Here we catch a late afternoon hill job after cresting the summit and beginning the long descent down grade towards the valley and on into Oakdale. On the G-scale layout version of the Sierra Northern Railway, the hill job predominantly transports wood chips, paper products, and lumber. Occasionally, they will transport propane cars mainly to be placed in storage, as well as empty intermodal well cars also to be placed in storage. The cars containing wood and paper products will be transported to the BNSF yard in Riverbank, where they will then be interchanged with BNSF and then transported north to Albany, Oregon. Here we capture the same late afternoon hill job descending around Big Ten Curve. This is the first horseshoe curve just below the summit. If you're wondering if these are custom-built locomotives, well, yes they are. These are what's known as Genset locomotives. The prototype Sierra Northern Railway also primarily uses Genset locomotives to transport freight and perform switching duties. For those of you not familiar with a Genset locomotive is a low-emissions diesel switcher locomotive. These locomotives are generally rebuilt on older diesel locomotive bodies. You'll note that the cabs on most Genset locomotives are just a little bit higher than the long hoods. Also, the front windows on the cabs are generally a little bit larger, which provide better visibility for crews during switching duties. Here we get a shot of the same late afternoon westbound hill job exiting Rogers Cut and rounding Cabana Curve. If the yellow, red, and gray colors look familiar to you, then you would probably be right. These are ex-Union Pacific locomotives. The Sierra Northern Railway generally purchases their Genset locomotives from Union Pacific. Because the prototype railroad purchases their locomotives from Union Pacific, all the Sierra Northern Railway locomotives operated on this G-scale layout are also ex-Union Pacific locomotives still in the Union Pacific color scheme. Here we get another shot of the late afternoon hill job, again rounding Cabana Curve, this time looking to the east. In this shot, we again see our early morning hill job, again westbound rounding Cabana Curve looking to the east. The images captured in this video were taken during 3 different days. And in case you haven't noticed, the hill job doesn't always keep the same schedule. Sometimes they run during the early morning, sometimes in the late afternoon, and yes, there's even times they run at night. This is all dependent on when cars are delivered by BNSF either to the Riverbank yard or the Oakdale yard. Also, their schedule is based on the demands of their customers. Certain trains have a higher priority than others. We again catch up to the late afternoon hill job as it travels through the S-curves in between the horseshoes. Here, the late afternoon job rounds Rocky Point and heads towards the curved trestle that crosses over Warnerville Creek. We again capture the early morning job as it rounds Rocky Point and heads towards Warnerville Creek Trestle, this time looking to the north. Looking west into the setting sun, we capture the late afternoon job as it runs between Warnerville Creek and Sand Cut. Let's look at another angle of the same job, this time looking to the south, as it exits the Warnerville Creek Trestle and travels into Sand Cut. After exiting Sand Cut, we find the train entering the inside gateway. Let's take another look at our early morning hill job as it enters the inside gateway and passes a storage siding full of covered grain hoppers. Here's another shot looking to the north as the train passes the same storage siding and begins the climb into the rock cut within the inside gateway. We again join the late afternoon hill job as it begins the steep climb up the 3% grade through the rock cut along the inside gateway. You'll see that the winds in the late afternoon generally pick up at this location and blow wood chips out of the tops of the wood chip cars. This also shows that yes, on this layout, we do transport live loads of wood chips. Looking into the setting sun, we capture the job exiting the rock cut and continuing the climb towards Hetch Hetchy Junction. Here is another early morning shot looking down into the rock cut of the inside gateway as the train passes below, battling the 3% grade. On this morning, while waiting for the hill job to arrive in the Oakdale yard, we get a surprise as we find the riverbank job waiting for the hill job on a siding. Little did we know that within a few moments, we would actually see a meet between the hill job and the riverbank job. The riverbank job is a daily job that generally runs between Oakdale and Riverbank. Cars that have been either brought down by the hill job or switched out of the Oakdale grain transfer facility are transported by the Riverbank job to the BNSF yard in Riverbank. There, they will interchange with BNSF and pick up cars that they bring back to the Oakdale yard. These cars are staged in the yard and await either the hill job or to be switched out of the grain transfer facility, which is located just east of the town of Oakdale. In addition to transporting cars between Oakdale and Riverbank, the Riverbank job generally will take care of the daily switching duties at the grain transfer facility. After patiently waiting for the hill job to pass, and once given the all clear to enter the main, the riverbank job proceeds towards riverbank with the cut of tank cars. Here we're back with our late afternoon job as it arrives in the Oakdale yard after its 3-hour journey westbound from Standard. Once the entire train has cleared the main and is safely on the siding, the job will come to a slow stop where it'll tie its train down for the night. We appreciate you coming along with us on this journey as we followed the hill job westbound from Standard to Oakdale. Thanks for watching the Sierra Northern Railway Hill Job G-Scale Part 2. We look forward to seeing you in future videos. Look out for Part 3, where we will take a look at the Sierra Pacific Industries lumber mill switcher in Standard. Until then, keep on rail fanning and keep on model railroading. We'll see you next time.